And then we'd be have an inefficient one person who couldn't do that.
So I have this other handout here on ICIC, who do the accrediting to see if you're advanced medical home compliant. So this is pulled out of, no it's not, sorry. This is from IHI, and it's just some information about are you ready to do improvement in your practice. And they have some stuff about delays in access and then diabetes, but they just have this 6 steps to improvement, much as the same as what I talked about before. But step 1, that you have a chronic care model, you have a model for improvement. Step 2, organizing your team, and we spent quite a bit of time talking about that. Step 3, adopt a guideline. Step 4, choose what your measures are going to be. Step 5, understand what your patient's care needs are. Assemble key clinical data. 6, change care for your first patient, and then start doing planned visits. And then step 7, building self-management support into the planned visit. And self-management support is what a lot about what we talked about before, about getting the patients involved. And again, that's a huge part of what the advanced medical home is about, is engaging staff to be involved and engaging the patient to be involved in whatever manner you can. So
I think what's
So,
going
Pat, when you have your blood pressure patient, where do you think, assuming that the category of ones that you're not at go, and
Matter all.
okay, well,
Especially after the DASH diet.
Then my patients that you see who are at go, when you look back at my chart, where is it that you screw up? And is it that you don't get the? Is it that I'm not engaged in getting to the numbers, or is it that I'm failing to get the patient engaged? That's always.
I think it's both.
I think it's both. I think
you're
there
still
are times
prescribing
where
grains,
Yes.
so you need to
Exactly.
Chew on this foxglove.
It seems to me a lot of it is the new patient or the newly diagnosed hypertensive patient is, I don't think we ever impress upon them how important control is. I think part of that's our own ability to be soft about it. And second is, I think we miss the opportunity sometimes to be very intense at the front end on really getting them on drugs, enough drugs, bringing them back enough where we really get them to go. That's the time where you get them engaged and you get them self-monitoring.
Right.
And then after you get somebody on goal, you're golden.
It's
It's
interesting.
amazing how you have people that you're 3 years out.
Yeah.
You can't get them engaged, you can't get them to goal, and you
But at least 3 people called me today and said, "Could you just do this over the phone?"
yeah.
You got the pushback from the copay, the deductible, all the Kodak spouses who are going to be paid next year.
And that's the beauty of the advanced medical home, and it's the piece that's missing. That there's this huge push for the advanced medical home, and the insurance companies becoming involved with deciding how it's going to be delivered. Would you stop whispering?
Do you have anthrax? What's going on?
No.
He's just been doing drugs.
Is your ink coming on your pages? Somebody's
By the
spilled
beer.
Somebody spilled beer on my page.
The beer, it's probably the beer spill, and you got the ink on it. He's shaking.
It's leprosy. It's not anthrax.
Again?
Instant onset.
God, will you get that
I thought I
cleaned
wiped
up?
it off. I hope my pen's not leaking on your pen. Uh-oh.
Ooh.
Oh.
Ooh, no wonder you have black pants now.
Ooh. It's my
Oh,
pen.
God.
This isn't looking pretty.
It's on my pants, not on your couch.
Oh, thank God.
Good thing I got
Well,
black
it's nice
pants.
of you to come over.
I don't even know where I stood. Look at that. There's a big black
Wow.
spot there.
I just figured you're in common.
Out there.
Well, we are busy primary care
My
providers. You just don't have
nephrostomy
to-
tube moved.
You just don't have to argue.
For his overdose.
Yes.
Oh, that was nasty.
This is going on YouTube.
We've had a total meltdown.
I don't know now.
The beauty of
The missing
Oh.
piece. The missing
The
piece of the
reimbursement.
insurance companies.
So the
And the
It was the
copay
punchline
pushback.
for the whole night.
The,
I was gonna bring it all together.
the insurers are pushing this, all this issue about having this care coordinator in your office and doing all this chronic care management and proving that you're having better outcomes and all that stuff. And really the push, and you and I talked about it earlier this week, the push of the AMA and the ACP and the AAFP getting together and making this is what we do already. We talk to the patients over the phone and talk about their blood pressure readings at home. So we're doing chronic care management already. We just need to build a structure around it that not only is good, but looks good, so we can satisfy.
That's why I almost think if they put the reimbursement model in place first,
Right.
I think it would move so much faster
Oh, yeah.
than if they just kind of like, well, let's build it and see where it goes, because there's just no incentive to do it,
You know, Brian, obviously there's not enough things in place to predict, but, when I look at our potential for doing something like this, it's a staffing issue for everybody, but for an employed group,
I don't think you got it on.
for an employed group, it's a bigger issue, I think,
Yeah.
because you have less control over that. So, in your vision, I think there are two specific concerns. One is
It's
we have,
blurry and cross-eyed.
we have a hard time keeping, even with our limited staff that we're allowed, we're having a hard enough time keeping them.
Yeah.
And secondly, with the expectations of what we need to do, we would need more staff. What, being in an employed position, what's your vision of how that could happen in a group? Because that's my
Well,
biggest concern. Not
In
details,
terms of
but
having more
how-
staff, it's the return on investment. You have the more staff, but you're getting more revenue in for that staff, and so you're leveraging those people to increase the revenue that you're
I
bringing in.
get the concept. How could that happen? Is that something you think Strong's going to embrace?
Yes. And the interesting thing is, businesses are always willing to do trials and projects, and it's always good to be involved in those projects, because you never know how long they're going to last and what's going to happen with them. And so there's always a chance for enhanced staffing to prove that something works.
Yeah.
And whenever you can show that on paper, if we had one extra nurse in our office and that allowed each one of us to see one extra patient a day, at the end of the year, each one of us would end up clearing, $50,000 more at the end of the year. So that more than pays for one extra nurse in the office. So we could have 5 extra nurses in the office for that much money. So having, number one, a sound business model for it gives you the support, and number two, it being part of a test pilot, I think gives you the support, because they're willing to put down some cash to see if it works or not. So those
Right.
two parts. I think that going back to your first part, how do you retain that staff? Being part of something that's more dynamic than, hi, Olsan Medical Group, what's your problem? So that they're engaged, they have a sense of what's going on, you're empowering the staff to make some decisions. I think that helps tremendously to keep staff on.
And pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're,
Pays good, yeah.
I don't know if that's gonna be
Well,
something
the
There
whole-
may be some incremental.
The Excellus thing
What
is,
happens if you retool and reform your processes, and then all that team support goes away?
yeah,
But the tough part is when you're trying to put some of these things in place in the beginning with your same staff. That's the part that's intimidating to me.
but that's the case as it is now.
This is why, quote, as Brian was saying, some of the top-down think that they can train people with some level of skill and expertise who will come into sites and be able to support a retraining or movement of present staff roles into team roles. I don't think they know what they have to work with.
I agree. I have no
I
idea what
just don't think,
And I-
this is not like corporate America.
I can tell you
The
even,
skill set of what you're working with, it's gonna be hard to move.
and the thing I worry about also is the Blues, they talked about, at the last board meeting I went to, they have a committee for health and benefits, and they talk about their disease control and their coaching programs, and it's very fuzzy, it's very loose,